Hello, Facebook. This is John Costino coming to you. It's been about 2 weeks since our last Facebook Live, so I'm looking forward to seeing everybody tonight. It's about 20 minutes after 8 here on Wednesday. Wait a few moments for people to get here. And tonight's message is all about the halfway point here in 2017. Half of the year is gone. So we're going to talk a little bit about where we are, why we're here, and how we're going to get to where we want to go. Good evening, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. I know many of you are preparing. We've got our business training at 9 o'clock in about 35 minutes, 40 minutes. So tonight I'm not going to go real long, probably about 20 minutes. We'll wait just another minute or two for folks to get here. But I am excited to share this message. Hello back to all of you. It's good to see you all. I'd like to make this a weekly thing, but as I've always promised you, I'm not going to jump on just to hear myself talk. But tonight's message may actually create some interest in the next 4 or 5 follow-up messages. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. I know a lot of folks are going to be joining us in a few moments. But tonight's message, as I said, is all about recognizing where we are. This is July 5th. I hope everybody had a wonderful Independence Day celebration yesterday. But the reality is we're halfway through 2017. And if you can remember back in December of last year and January of this year, I talked a lot about the fact that people make resolutions that they have no intentions of following through with. So I didn't want you to make a New Year's resolution. I wanted you to set some really good goals, some achievable goals for 2017. And tonight's message is not something I've just whipped up. As some of you know, I spend an awful lot of time talking with many of you one-on-one. And what happens is I start to recognize patterns. I start to recognize that it's not 1, it's not 2, it's not 10, it's dozens of people with the same problem, the same challenges, the same issues. And so if I manage to figure out something that makes sense and it begins to resonate, that's when I realize, okay, there's my next message. So just to let you know, that's where these ideas and these training messages or messages to share come from. But what I'd like to talk about right now is the fact that there are so many people out there, we'll just say dealing with, I won't say struggling with, but I'll say dealing with the concept of they're not happy where they are. They're not happy with where they are right now, but they feel stuck. They don't understand how they got here. They don't understand how to get out of it. So I'm going to try to share with you what worked for me. And I'm going to preface this by saying, you know, a lot of people out there claim to have these, you know, magical ideas. None of us do. People steal my stuff, and my stuff is not from me. It's from a ton of research, watching videos, reading books, and speaking with people. So I'm not claiming to be a genius. I'm not claiming to be this expert. I'm just going to share with you what made sense to me. Now, if you've worked with me in the past, you've heard me teach this for decades. Act as if. Act as if. You know, your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits. But that's not really enough for most of us. It wasn't enough for me. I thought it was until recently, and then I figured out through a lot of painful experience that there's more to it than our thoughts, our words, and our actions. There's our feelings. And that's where the movie The Secret and the law of attraction and all these other things have popped up. And I'll preface it by saying I'm not ripping on anybody. I'm not putting anybody down. I'm not judging. But there are an awful lot of so-called gurus out there charging money and teaching classes and still leaving people unfulfilled because they share concepts, but they don't really give enough for it to work for an individual. So through a lot of just, again, painful trial and error on my part, I think I've figured out something that made sense. It's happened to make sense and resonate with a number of you. So I'm going to go ahead and share it tonight. And it kind of ties together a lot of former messages that I have delivered. I've talked about Act As If, obviously, but I talked, I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months ago about, having faith versus praying. And when you're manifesting and asking God and the universe to answer prayers, it's like placing an order in a restaurant. And again, they're all pieces of it, but there's another piece that just kind of, again, began to formulate and make sense. So I'm going to try to put this in a way that makes sense to all of you. We live, I say we because I always start with me, and y'all can figure out if you fit this profile as well, but we live in a mindset of when I have what it is that I want, then I'll be able to do the things that I want to do, and then I'll feel great. So it's this like have, do, feel mentality. And it's a trap. It's a trap that we all, at some point, I believe, fall into or start in, where we feel like we have to have stuff before we can do and act and be a certain way, and then we can feel so amazing about things. And so when you hear people talking about things, what I'm going to try to do is break it down into a simplistic way that makes sense. And I'm going to say to you that we have to first feel a certain way. And then once we feel that way, then we can do and act the way we need to in order to have what it is that we want. So it's in reverse. It's completely in reverse. And I'm going to try to break it down in a way that'll make sense. And I put these notes, as you know, I don't usually have notes, but I want to make sure I get this precise for you. So when we're talking about the law of attraction and manifesting things and asking the universe and praying and all those things, what we have to recognize is that, yes, our thoughts do become our words, and yes, our words do become our actions, but we also have to go a step further. We can't just write up on a piece of paper what we want. We can't just create vision boards, and we can't just verbally talk about what we want. We actually have to start to feel it, because as has been proven without any question or doubt right now, everything in our world is an energy frequency. And so we have an energy frequency, and we have to change the frequency and vibration that we give off, because if we're coming from a lack or a scarcity mentality, a negative mentality, then that's the vibration and the frequency that we're sending out to people. And just as we've always said, be a magnet, be a magnet, be a magnet, magnets either attract or repel. So we've heard it, we've said it, but the reality is, what is our frequency? Now, this is what I want to try to break down for you. A frequency is all about your feeling. And your feeling is all about your emotion. What is your emotion? What are you feeling? What is your emotion right now? And your emotion is all about what you're experiencing. Your present experience right now. And what you're experiencing is all about what's going on in your head about your future. And I'm going to get to that in a second. And what's going on in your head about your future comes down to your beliefs. Now, this is where it gets tricky, and why I personally have been challenged and frustrated in the past, because so many people say things like this: just live in the present. And I have to thank, there's a couple of people out there that have been so good to me over the last couple of years, helping me through this. Greg O'Loughlin, Larry Clapp, Robert Buchholz. Happy birthday, Buck. We all missed your birthday yesterday. And they've helped me to keep my mindset in the present, because so many people, myself included, we get trapped by our past. Your past is a learning experience. It's the lessons and it's your experience, but you can't live in it. You can't keep bringing your past into your present. I was guilty of that for a long time. And when you bring your past into your present, you pollute your future. because your future is all about your past because it's where you're at right now. You're stuck. And then the flip side, when you get rid of that, if you're like me, my challenge was always focusing on my future and ignoring my present. So there was that level of uncertainty and anxious anxiety of trying to make sure my future was the right way. So I missed being present and focused on where I am right now. So through just a tremendous amount of practice and work and trial and error and mistakes and all that stuff, I can now say I live in the present. I'm in the present. My past is my past. All that has happened to me has happened to me. And I want to be blunt about this. I'm not trying to diminish on any level what's happened to you. Okay? I've dealt with some stuff. But here's what I want you to understand. You know, if you were lied to, you were lied. L-I-E-D. Lied to. They lied. It's in the past. If you were cheated on, you were cheated. T-E-D. Cheated. It's in the past. It happened in the past. If you were stolen from, it was in the past. It's all in the past. Don't keep bringing it into the present, because if you bring it into the present, it messes up your belief for the future. And that's where we get stuck. That's the challenge. Now, I'm going to try to give you a couple of really important, powerful examples of how we do this unconsciously every day. And if what I'm about to say to you makes sense, and you want to do a deeper dive and you want to go further with this, then we'll create some more videos on this. But I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how we do it unconsciously and how our unconscious belief for the future destroys our ability to live in the present. And our goal, our job, our responsibility is to live in the present but have an extremely positive outlook on the future, staying present. So here's the two examples. Example one, somebody has a job. You go to your job. So male, female, doesn't matter. You've got a job. You've been going there for a couple of years. You're not really inspired anymore. You're not appreciated at your job. You're certainly not valued at your job. You're just kind of one of the pieces of the machine. You're a number. You have a boss that doesn't really respect or appreciate your efforts, but you go through the motions because you have to at your job. You have a commute that you don't really enjoy. You've got colleagues that are not really what you would consider people that you want to be friends with, but it's your job. It's what you do. So in this example, you go into work on Thursday morning and you get there at 8:30. And for the past couple of weeks, you've been a part of a team of 10 people working on a really important project for the company. And you get to your desk and there's a note on your computer and it says, be in the boss's office at 12 o'clock sharp. Now, I want you to really think about this for a second. It's been a really tough grind for the past couple of weeks working on this project. You don't know how it's going. To you, it's just a grind. It's tough. It's frustrating. The boss never seems to be happy. Nothing that you do seems to be good enough. And you get to work Thursday morning, and at 8:30, you see the little sticker right on your computer that says, be in the boss's office at 12 noon sharp. How do you feel? Just initial reaction, how do you feel? I want you to think about that for a second. How do you feel? How do you feel? Not what are you thinking, how do you feel? Because I'll tell you, for me, I'd probably feel anxious. I'd probably feel a sense of overwhelm, like, holy crap, what happened? Did the project go south? Am I being fired? Did somebody, go in and complain about me or make up stuff? Whatever it would be a whole bunch of negative feelings. Go ahead and click the like button if any of you would be experiencing some type of anxiety or some type of negative feelings reading that note at 8:30 in the morning and then spending the next 3.5 hours up until noon under some level of stress or anxiety about, holy smokes, what's about to happen? What am I dealing with? What did I walk into? Okay, so now you walk into the boss's office. It's 5 minutes to noon. It's 11:55. You sit down, the boss is not in there. All of a sudden, from behind you, the door slams, the boss comes around, smiles at you and says, I don't know how to thank you. You saved the project. The client signed the deal yesterday and point blank said the only reason they signed the deal was because of your suggestion and you saved the entire project. I just got word from management that they want to reward you. You and your spouse get 2 weeks, full expenses paid to Hawaii a week from now. You leave a week from now, 2 weeks, all expenses paid. All we want to do is say thank you very much. Now I want you guys to tell me what just happened. From 8:30 in the morning, you went the next 3.5 hours under stress and anxiety, overwhelmed about something that you had no knowledge of. It was a belief in your mind that something horrible was going to happen. Something horrible was going to happen at noon. You were being singled out and it was going to be negative. That's where the majority of people, myself included, would have gone. Now, you find out that it's the exact opposite. Not only were you worried for nothing, you now celebrate. Here's my point. You go home, you come back the next day, and you go through the entire next week at the same crummy job, the same miserable commute to work, same crappy job all day, and the same commute home. But my question to you is, over the next day, which is Friday, and the whole next week of work before you leave for Hawaii, are you now able to smile and enjoy your day, even though you're still dealing with the same lousy job, with the same miserable colleagues and coworkers, in the same crappy environment, but because your mind is now on the all-expense paid vacation to Hawaii, are you in a happier place in your present experience because your brain has a happy, positive outlook for the future? Do you see where the belief changes your feeling? So you're now going through that whole next week feeling good, even though nothing has changed. You don't have anything. You're still in the same miserable environment, but your feeling has changed. Now, watch how I can flip it upside down on you. You're in Hawaii and you enjoy the first week. And for some unknown, god-awful reason, you decide to check your phone messages on day 8 or day 9 or day 10, but halfway through your 2-week vacation. And when you're checking your messages, you hear from 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 of your coworkers that things have fallen apart at work. The project was rejected by the client. The boss is frustrated because corporate management is now laying off a bunch of people and they're using that failed project as their momentum, as their focus for restructuring and reshuffling the deck at work. Now, you still have a whole nother week of your all expenses paid vacation. But on day 8, 9, 10, you just got this horrible news that when you go back home to your job, you have no idea if you're going to be fired, and if you're not fired, how bad the environment is going to be. Now how do you feel? Now how do you feel? You're still in Hawaii. You have a whole nother week. All expenses paid for you. Heaven on earth. You and your spouse have the most amazing next week ahead of you. How do you feel emotionally? Even though you're still on this amazing vacation. So do you see how this works? You still now have everything you have everything that you've wanted right here, but your brain and your belief for the future has destroyed your present moment. So I want to say this again, and I want to read it real carefully for you. Your feelings are all about your emotions. Your emotions are all about what you're experiencing right now. And what you're experiencing right now is not about what you have. What you're experiencing right now is your thoughts about the future. And your thoughts about the future are all based upon your beliefs. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in what you're doing. And you have to trust the process. You have to find a way to be very present right now, to forget the past, learn from it, but leave it there. Be present right now, and in your present moment right now, be filled with positive, excited, and happy thoughts about your future. If you can master that, if you can do that, then and only then and only then will the law of attraction work for you, because you will be vibrating out at such a positive frequency that the things that you want will actually come to you. Instead of being so negative, so depressed, so frustrated about your past that that's all you can see for your future. And I promise you, I'm not criticizing, I'm not judging. I'm saying that's where I used to be. I was so challenged and frustrated that I couldn't let go of my past. I couldn't move past the people that had lied to me and cheated me and stolen from me and damaged me, and let them go and leave them in my past so that I could be present right now and focus on a better future. And that's what I'm trying to say to you right now. It took me a long time, and I'm here. And it's amazing the things that are happening. And that's why I wanted to share them with you, because so many of you right now are either working so hard but not getting the traction, and you're frustrated. Some of you aren't even working hard anymore. You've given up. You've given up. I'm here to tell you that as long as you can hear my voice and see me, you're not dead. And if you're not dead, you still have the opportunity. And if you have the desire, we can get you there. So with that, this is John Costino saying, I would really appreciate the feedback on this. I'm not fishing for compliments. As I said, these messages are not things that I make up. They come from extensive dialogue, conversations, and interaction with many of you one-on-one that are struggling, that I happen to have personal relationships with. So for me, if this makes sense, if this resonates, and you want it to go deeper, then we can. But I'm not going to do it if it doesn't make sense, because I don't talk to hear myself. I share because I want to truly do the best I can to serve you and have a positive impact. So with that, I thank you for joining. If this did have a positive impact for you, then I'm going to ask you to do me two favors. One, comment on it, and two, watch it over and share it. Because the bottom line is, if we can create enough of an audience for it, then it'll make sense for me to work on some components of how we can get there. Like I said, I'm not one of the quote-unquote so-called internet gurus out there trying to pretend I've got it all figured out. And I'm certainly doing this for free because I don't want any of you out there paying money and being hoodwinked by the folks that are charging money that are still trying to figure things out. So with that, this is John Costino saying be blessed. Thanks for joining us. Sending you all peace, love, and happiness, and I look forward to seeing you. We'll make this every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. And even if I don't have a compelling message, I'll hop on and give you something for 5 minutes. So with that, see you all next week. And for those of you that work with me, in MoneyWise. I'll see you in about 10 minutes on our webinar platform for business. Bye-bye, everybody.